Episode 47. This is the Inside Deschutes County podcast. Wherever you might be and however you might be listening, thank you for making us a part of your day. You can subscribe on any podcast platform, and you can also find us at deschutes.org/podcast.
Deschutes County is an amazing place to live,
work, and play.
Great place to raise a family.
I love the weather and the high desert.
At Deschutes County, we provide excellent service.
Beautiful.
We're here to help you.
Deschutes County is the heart of Oregon.
Everyone wants to be here.
Welcome to the Inside Deschutes County podcast. So glad you're with us. I'm Eric Breon. Well, lots to talk about today, so we're going to dive right in. My guest is Paul Partridge. He's the program manager for Deschutes County IDD, and I'm going to let him tell you what that stands for because I always stumble over one of the words. Paul, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me over, Eric. IDD.
IDD, tell me because I struggle over
Okay, let's see if I can do it. Now,
the second word.
Cheater, make Paul do it.
Yeah.
Intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yeah,
and we're just going to go
perfect.
back to IDD for the rest of the time.
Yeah, now we said it.
Yep.
We said it. It's just one of those words, Paul. I can't say developmental very well.
How about
I did it there.
cellular telephone? That's
Oh,
mine
that's
that
one.
I can't say.
Yeah. I got a couple of those in my vocabulary. I just can't say the word. But we can talk about the program, IDD.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for, right?
Well, let's talk about that. So not a lot of people know exactly what IDD is all about. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what services IDD provides. Let's just start there.
Absolutely. Let's identify the population a little bit first, because not everybody does know what IDD means or who are we talking about when we're talking about a individual with an intellectual or developmental disability. The name kind of says it. Really, we're working with folks throughout the lifespan from cradle to grave. And these are folks who have some sort of a disability with a genesis in the brain that happens during the developmental years. So some examples of the folks that we're working with beyond people with low IQ, that would be the intellectual disability portion. But developmental disabilities, some examples of those would be autism spectrum disorder. Even a traumatic brain injury could be a developmental because it happens if it happens during the developmental years up through 21. Down syndrome is another example.
So there's a lot of people that need that help. How does your program support individuals, families in need?
Sure. Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's a pretty basic question, but
it is a basic question.
But how do you guys support them? Because there's a lot to that.
Yeah. Well, the word I'm going to use probably over and over is person-centered. It looks different for every person that we meet because every person has, a different set of needs. Even in this room, Eric, you and I in this room, we have different sets of needs between the two of us. And people with intellectual developmental disabilities that we serve all have very distinct needs. But it starts with the eligibility process. That's kind of the front door to our service. Usually we get a referral from a community partner like a pediatrician, in some cases maybe a school teacher, that they have encountered a person who they believe may qualify for us, and then they refer. And then we go through a process in which we gather records and determine whether the person's eligible or not. And then once they get the congratulations, you're in letter that they qualify, then we assign them a services coordinator or a case manager. And that services coordinator's job is to do just that, coordinate services. But that starts with assessment. And that really is figuring out what's important to and for the individual. That's really the person-centered part. So from assessment, then it's building a plan, an individualized support plan that contains all the things that person needs in terms of support. And one thing I kind of failed to mention is most of the supports that we can authorize, the direct service portion of the supports, are contingent on the person being Medicaid eligible, which most folks with IDD can be found eligible for Oregon Health Plan or Medicaid. So that plan contains all the array of supports that the person wants, and then the third component of case management or service coordination is information referral. That's referring someone to that service. How are they going to get support in that area? And then the final one that I think is the most important is the monitoring portion, because we don't want to just be creating plans and sending people for service all over the countryside and then do nothing to find out if the plan is actually working. So that's the cycle, and that makes it a cycle because at the point when we're doing monitoring, if we identify something's not working, then we kind of go back to assessment. Why isn't it working? What needs to change? And modify the plan. So yeah, that really is the cycle. And there's some other services that our office provides in addition to case management that I could mention too. But that's the biggest part.
I imagine, Paul, that it probably it's like a onion. You're just peeling back the layers, trying to figure out what kind of services they need. Because I'm guessing here. You tell me, but I'm guessing. I mean, obviously different levels of need, right? I mean, in terms of, do they need housing? Do they need to just be able to navigate resources? Do they need care? So all of those things. How in the world do you and your team do that? Because that just sounds really complicated.
It is. I mean, the peeling the layers of the onion analogy is pretty spot on, and it changes. So I want to first say that how do we do it? Number one is building relationships with people. One of the things that I really like about our service is that it is life over the lifespan. So unlike some of our colleagues in behavioral health who have a episode of care, you get 6 weeks and then you need to be out, transition them out. We're not that way. We will provide case management throughout a person's entire lifespan. So building a relationship, year one, sometimes it's very minimal what we identify in terms of support needs, or it's the things that a lot of times, let's say parents for a young child that enters into service, parents have been overwhelmed and they've finally found us and navigated into our service. So a lot of times it's the things that are top of mind for parents. And then years 2, 3, 4, 5, as the child develops throughout school, those, the list sort of changes, right? I mean, the needs are not the same for a 6-year-old as they are 4 or 5 years down the road.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows of life, right?
Yeah, and then, when we have service coordinators that, I won't say her name because she'd choke me if I said her name on the podcast, but we have a service coordinator that's been here for, I think, I'm going to say 26 years. So she knows individuals who she case managed when they were little, knee-high to a grasshopper, right? And they're now adults working, living independently. And so that's one of the really honorable things about doing the work is that we get to see people progress, over years of their life.
Well, I was going to talk to you about that,
goals
Paul,
change. Mm-hmm.
because the people that do this work, I imagine, have such a passion for it and such a, they develop these connections to the people because, as you mentioned, cradle to end of life. Talk about that just a little bit in terms
Sure.
of, the connection that you're what did you call them? Service coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
They have to develop with these individuals, because that's pretty emotional work.
It is, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows
Right.
either. I mean,
Yeah.
we see some really difficult scenarios happen, and things that are really, believe it or not, everybody in our community doesn't have the same set of values.
What?
I know.
I didn't know that.
What is that? Is if everybody just had the same set of values as Paul, we don't know. No, we have a diversity of values and beliefs across the community and across the folks that we serve. And again, back to relationships, I think we have to be very respectful that we are guests in a family's lives, and their family dynamic and core values are not necessarily the same as our own. And we're a visitor, and we're trying to honor, what's important. I said important to and for. It's not just, what's good for Eric, but what's important to Eric, right? We have to do all those things. But what was the question? This is how my mind wanders. It's about how do we continue?
That's okay. That's what this podcast
Yeah.
allows for us to do. We can go in all kinds of different directions. But I was curious about just the emotional connection,
Yeah.
and the passion for the work,
Well-
and it to me, outsider looking in, it takes a special kind of person to do this work.
I'll speak for my own experience, because I've been working with folks with intellectual developmental disabilities since 1992. Wow, that's hard to say.
A few years.
Yeah.
It's a couple years.
It's over 30 years. And I started working for a provider organization in Salem, Oregon, in our capital, driving a pickup truck, hauling guys around town, servicing landscaping contracts. That was how I started in this work. And there was something about the people. They are now. I'm gonna be a little bit, I don't mean to stereotype, but this is a generality that I have observed over years and years, is that the folks that we work with tend to be very unfiltered in the way they communicate with us. And I don't have to stop and wonder, what is Bobby thinking about me right now? He tells me.
Right.
And, if I'm listening, if my ears are open, he's telling me exactly what's important to and for him. But that, you asked me, how do we, it involves empathy, and it involves building an emotional connection with people. And, some traumatic things happen. I've seen traumatic things happen to clients that I have been responsible for coordinating support. I worked a bunch of those years as an abuse investigator in our system, and that's very taxing work. You see some really bad outcomes happen for people, regardless of, what you as an abuse investigator are doing. And you just have to find a way to come to terms and see, what is the benefit that I'm providing overall, and just, have some acceptance that we're not going to have positive outcomes every time. That's the really tough answer to the question. Is it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and there are some times where at first attempt at helping a person to have a better life, it fails. Or they're just not ready, and the timing is wrong, or the approach is maybe not quite right, and we just keep coming up to bat. I mean, use a baseball analogy. What if you have a batting average of 325? That means you're
probably in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're getting on
Especially
base
nowadays.
only
Yeah.
1/3 of the time.
Yeah.
So, there are some times, and the difficult thing is we're not just hitting baseballs. We're working with humans, and interaction we're having has an impact on their lives. And so I don't mean to minimize that, but we are going to have some swings and misses, some strikeouts with people. And I think if we're just continue working hard at building those relationships, again, it's relationships. Because, I mean, I've been married for 25 years, and not every conversation I've had with my wife has been,
A home run.
stellar. What?
A home run.
Right, not a home run.
You probably a few curveballs in life.
Sometimes I get beamed in the head too.
Extend the baseball
Right.
metaphor.
Yeah,
It's
we could go on
about
to
baseball
that.
season.
It's all about baseball right now. Thursday is opening day. Is
Yeah, it's coming up. It's
Yeah.
coming up.
Anyway, this is how I roll. But it really is. We do miss sometimes, and I think that's a thing for a really young services coordinator, or really young staff to our program that I have to work. That our leadership works really hard to instill in them is, look, you're not in this on your own. You're honored by getting to be a part of this person's life, and you have colleagues around you that can help lift you up and give you ideas. And it's not going to go right every time.
Yeah,
that's okay.
a lot of moving targets.
Yes.
Your program just hit a milestone of sorts of serving 1,000 clients. It's a pretty big number. I'd like you to talk about that number, kind of what it means to you and your team to recognize, wow, we've helped 1,000 people, and because I know that there are success stories, there are some tough stories, but you guys have made an impact. Talk about that number a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, the number is 1,000. We, I believe it was in late January, we surpassed the 1,000 client enrolled mark. Now, Eric, when I came here in October of 2018, I believe our enrollment was in the 530s, that range. So we've nearly doubled our enrollment in that amount of time. And keep in mind, because we're birth to death, probably the majority of those 500 and however many that were here in 2018 are still open. And then we have, an additional.
Because it's an
400. So
ongoing number. It's an ongoing number. It's
Yeah.
not a 1,000 and they're done and away from us, right?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes people come and go. They move away. They move to another community, what have you. But what that number means is, one, our Deschutes County is a community in Oregon that continues to grow. And so we're, striving to stay apace of the population growth in Deschutes County. So it means that. But it also says to me that some of our efforts at getting out into every corner of Deschutes County, Lapine, Sisters, Redmond, Terrebonne, every corner of the community, we are really trying to do outreach and in various languages. So that 1,000 mark tells me that what I'm hopeful is that we have successfully been able to reach every corner and get greater access to all community members who qualify for our service.
I got to meet one of those clients once upon a time. Her name was
did?
Donna, and such a special human. She loves basketball. And we connected. I'm a sports fan, so we connected over that. And she loved showing me her photos and of her family and the person she lives with, Jane, told the story of how they connected and how they help. And I know that, that's one of the 1,000. And just the impact that, you and your team have had on helping her grow and navigate life, super special.
And that's one story.
One.
And one story that you've had the honor to have a part of, but I get to hear them every day. I hear stories, and again, some of them are not sunshine and rainbows. But one thing that we do, speaking of our team and celebrating success and milestones, one thing that I started with our monthly all-staff meeting is I encourage our team to invite clients in to our all-staff meeting to celebrate their success with the thought that we're able to help people achieve having a better life. And usually that comes through some sort of a collaborative effort with somebody else in the community or lots of someone's in the community. And so the idea is to have them come in and speak to us about their experience, what that collaboration has helped them achieve. And if we have time, I'd love to tell one story that I heard last week in our staff meeting.
Oh, we've got all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, this is open-ended.
So this is just, our service coordinators. I'd beg them. I say, hey, go find somebody to bring to staff meeting. Well, one of our staff brought this couple. They're a married couple. They recently moved to our community from Benton County, where they have lived for years. They owned a home in Benton, and it's been part of their important goal in their previous plan to the husband wanted to retire and move to Bend because I think they have some family connections over here. Want to retire, move to Bend. Sounds like lots of people's dreams in our community, right?
Yeah.
And so they worked on that for a while, found and they didn't really want to own a home anymore. They really wanted to have a little bit more of a relaxed lifestyle. They've been married for 38 years, Eric. 38-year marriage. Wow. And so they were able to build a relationship with somebody over here who said, hey, I kind of want to open a foster home. Would you guys want to live in my foster home if I got licensed? And you could be the only two residents here, and I could, you won't have to worry about making house payments anymore. You can just rent from me, and I can provide the supports that you need. And so that's what they're doing. They moved here. Wow. They take vacations either together or I asked them what their secret is in terms of being married for 38 years. And I think it was the missus said, well, we take vacations apart sometimes.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So anyway, they also were assisted in reuniting. I think she had a cousin that lived at Fairview Training Center, which was institution in Oregon that closed back in year 2000. She had a cousin that lived at Fairview forever and ever, and either she'd never met her or hadn't seen her since they were little girls. And through the help of her service coordinator, they were able to reunite and have some visits before her cousin. I think her cousin has now passed, but what a remarkable story. And to bring that to our team, and that really helps because not everybody on our team are service coordinators. We have support staff, clerical folks, and others that don't get to necessarily have that personal connection. So it's great for them to hear those stories.
That's really cool. And I know you didn't come on here to talk specifically about this, but I think that you guys are always looking for foster care providers or people willing to take people into their home. Is that true?
Yeah. Absolutely. We are looking to build capacity, either 24-hour residential or foster. Excuse me. One of the things that is really heartbreaking in our community is we just don't have enough of that kind of care setting for people with IDD. Really, ever since we do have some providers, but we always have like right now, our designated referral contacts. These are the gals that help people into a setting like that. They have about 12 people on their list that are kind of, hovering, looking for a setting to go live in. And we, at any given point in time, have 2 or 3 vacancies across our provider community locally. And the heartbreaking thing is that those 12 people end up getting referred elsewhere in the state and have to leave this beautiful community where their family, their doctor, sometimes their school or their job is, because they need a residential level of care and have to go elsewhere to find it. So I'm careful what I'm saying about this project, but back in mid-March, we published a request for proposal to attract providers to operate a home here actually up in Redmond, with a focus on serving adults with IDD who have also a co-occurring mental health condition. because those are folks that we've traditionally had a difficult time correctly supporting and getting them into mental health treatment and getting their residential care needs met. So this project is specifically for that. It's going to be a small number of folks. It'll be a 3 or 4 bed capacity, but it's a start. We Health Services got some grant dollars that enabled us to purchase a home, which has now been board approved. That happened last week. The home has been purchased, and now we're really trying to attract a qualified and experienced 24-hour IDD residential provider to operate that home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So that'll help support basically the foster care system, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that people don't have to leave.
Absolutely.
They can stay here, get the
They
help
get
that they
served
need.
right here.
And
Yeah.
great.
And the sort of a secondary effect of us publishing that RFP, request for proposal, I forwarded that to this lesson learned here. Get ready. I forwarded this thing to 763 recipients across Oregon because I wanted to just, The next thing that happened is the phone started ringing like crazy, and emails are coming in and 1,000 questions. But the secondary effect is that we're also attracting providers from different parts of Oregon who have set up shop in locations that are actually, there's really not a market, there's not a demand, and they're sitting empty. And so these providers are calling me saying, hey, what, beyond the RFP that you have out, are you looking for additional providers? Is this just one house for one provider? And I said, yeah, that's what the project is. But yes, we're looking to attract more talent to our community that can support our citizens so they don't have
Nice.
to
It seems
move
like people
out.
want to help.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. What are the programs, IDD's long-term goals? I know you have other advocacy efforts. You talked to me about a comm card training that's going on. Talk to me a little bit about that and maybe how that's helping you and your team.
Yeah, well, it's kind of what I've labeled as beyond the requirements. We have certain contractual requirements for our program, what I kind of talked about with the assessment, planning, and that kind of stuff within case management. But even this capacity building, that's a little beyond the requirement. Recruitment is not something that's necessarily on our menu of required serve. But of course, for people to be properly served, it's the right thing to do, right? So we do it. This comm card, and I'm going to say what that is in a minute. That's another example of a thing that it's not a requirement. But about a year ago, I was looking for any tools that were available to help increase people's independence when they're out in the community on their own. How can they safely navigate our community? And one of the things that comes up is when people have contact with law enforcement, because maybe they are legitimately lost, or maybe they don't have quite the skill that they thought maybe that they had in terms of riding public transportation, and they end up at the wrong place, or they have there's a communication gap between them and a vendor, a store, a shopkeeper, and law enforcement comes. Well, a law enforcement officer, because of the expressive communication limits of a lot of our folks, law enforcement officer has difficult time understanding what in the heck is going on with Jeffrey. Who is this person? Or maybe Jeffrey doesn't even have any ID, and the officer is left completely clueless as to how to help this person, get on their way, or what am I dealing with here, right? And so one of the tools that I ran across that was in place in Benton County, Benton's getting some airtime.
They get some love. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a
Doing
long
things
time.
right in Benton.
They are. Well, I have one of my colleagues has been the program manager there for almost as long as I've been in this business. He's been around for a while too. So, no, they had this card thing in place, and he told me about it. And so I called up the gal that administers this program. I'm like, what's up with this thing? And man, she was so ready to talk to me. She's so excited about it. What it is it's more than just an ID card. It is an ID card that they develop. And I wish I'd brought examples that we could show over the podcast to the watchers.
Oh, well,
There's a video component to this, isn't there?
There's not, but I can see if we can put it on figure out a way to put it out there somewhere so that people can see what it looks like. We'll put it on our social media pages as to what it looks like.
I'm yanking your chain because it's one of those things we do in an audio show.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll try to describe it. It is more than just a card, but it is a card that has the person's identifiers on it, their name and address, and but then on the back of the card, it gives information about, this is who I am. I experienced this disability. These are the things that work for me. When you talk to me, maybe it says that I am on the autism spectrum, and so vocal tone lower helps. Just cues like that. They're going to help someone in the community understand what's going on with Jeffrey. What a cool idea. Yeah. So that could certainly help de-escalate things, I guess, when dealing with law enforcement or confusion, right? Or, those situations can get out of hand in a hurry. Oh, absolutely. So it does that, but it also gives the recipients, they come for session 1. It's a training session to understand what is ComCard and to talk about what information might you want on your card. And then they kind of go away. There's a registration process where they kind of start what gets populated to the card. And then they come back for session 2. And by that time, the card has been printed for them. And we've invited some law enforcement personnel to session 2. And folks get to practice, if they're ready, to interact with a person in uniform. They get to practice with a law enforcement officer.
Oh, that's great.
And say, here, I'm Paul. I have an identification card I want to show you, or, however they're going to say that. They get to practice how to present that in a safe way and make them feel enabled to have a better outcome with a law enforcement officer.
So I'm assuming some outreach here to law enforcement as to that this card exists. Yeah. That's something they can look for, how to interpret the card.
Yes.
So that's underway, or as part of this training?
That is underway. I've been kind of pitching it to them. We have a monthly meeting with some of the brass across our law enforcement agencies in Deschutes County, and we've pitched it a couple of times to them. We need to do some more of that now and say, okay, we're live, it's going, and probably I'll send out a memo to their shift briefings, so they can see, okay, that's what this is, with some some images of the card, what the card looks like, and we're always trying to drum up volunteers to come and do these sessions. We do about twice a year. We do a crisis intervention training module for officers who get mostly that's a 40-hour training, most of which is related to mental health, but we have a IDD component to that CIT module too. So we advertise the ComCard there as well.
Big things happening in the IDD department.
Yeah.
So you've got 1,000 clients, you've got the ComCard, you've got this residential collaboration project. Paul, big things you're doing in our community. Thank you for you and your team and all the work that you're doing and the help that you're providing these people and the ongoing support. Super, super cool effort.
Well, I personally feel honored to be in a position where we can serve.
Paul Partridge, program manager for IDD. I'm not going to say developmental. Intellectual developmental disabilities.
We'll do some coaching before I come back.
There we go. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
If you'd like more information about IDD and how to access services, you can go to Deschutes.org and visit the IDD page under Behavioral Health. We'll also post a little video about the comp card that Paul was talking about. We'll put that on our social media post about this podcast. We'll show you an image of the card as well. Remember, you can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Drop us a review, drop us a rating. We'd really appreciate it. You can also find us at deschutes.org/podcast. But until next time, please be safe out there.